I think there are a lot of lessons that can be learned in therapy. That's like the obvious one that everybody already been knew. But accessibility, the accessibility is there, but is it quality?
Mm.
Kind of, that's the next question that I think we should
Yeah,
address.
the quality of these accessible therapists, these BetterHelp sites.
Right, because like if is it really therapy if you now if you're using the logging on the phone as as a channel to the resource of therapy, by all means, but if a therapist session is defined as a 35-minute Zoom call, are you really working through your trauma in that or whatever? I mean,
No, I think because I've done one of those. It was like a free one, and like through like a college.
it was free for a fucking reason.
through like a college, right?
Right.
And it was like you get 8 of these, 40 minutes. And I was like, perfect, that's enough of them. But it really felt like I was like venting to the person the whole time, and then like I would leave, and I'm like, did I solve anything?
No.
No. But did it feel good to bitch at the
Yeah.
therapist? Yeah, that
It's a
felt
verbal
good.
punching
Yeah,
bag.
yeah.
Honestly, and that's the difference. Like, has therapy just simply been diluted to somebody who's willing to be your verbal punching bag or be like your trauma vomit absorber?
Mm-hmm.
Because, I'm not trying to like stir the pot when I say this,
Yeah.
but when you're like with your close friends, you would say, "Oh, we had a therapy session."
Exactly.
All you really did was just vent, right?
Yeah.
So, like,
Did it feel good to vent? Yeah, it did.
but I'm sure there are certain
But the
things that-
underlying reasoning and feelings are still gonna be there.
Right.
Nothing
I'm
really-
sure that nothing has been addressed. And if that's what it takes, you just need to bitch, whine, and complain. Do that. No one's gonna judge you. But like, they've now built a market out of that.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, subscribe for X whatever 99 a month to just vent to
To vent
somebody.
to your friends. Yeah.
It's not even your friend. It's a stranger.
The stranger who's pretending to be your friend,
Yeah.
who'll use all that stuff you overshared to make you think that you're connected.
I mean, I'm sure a regular therapist would do that, but I think it's a little bit more ethical because, like, I mind you, again, I've never been to a therapy session, but my preconceived notion is if you sit down on that long chase and you're actually, like, somebody's there jotting notes or trying to actually pick apart your problems as you're throwing the story, their main focus is the problem and your perspective on it and how they can introduce new factors for you to change it or address it
Address it.
versus, hey, can you see me? Can you see me? Is my camera on? Okay, yeah, so this is what Brandon really pissed me off today. Sheila, like, no, like
Yeah.
that's kind of fucked up.
That
to
is
me.
fucked up. Yeah. But apparently people like it.
If it
It's
works for
working,
you,
apparently.
it works. But I feel like at the very least, another thing that we should be talking about in the context of mental health is what resources are required to just, what quality resources are available for the real mental health problems. Because, I can't even say real mental health because mental health is legit. But
Yeah,
like
everything is real, but
right. But like the stuff that's like you really need,
But the-
proper like
I know what you're
critical
trying to
care
say.
and attention.
Yeah.
Versus, because if something's just on your heart and on your soul,
your fundamental, like the deep rooted like things that
Yeah.
are wrong with you,
right.
to try to
Like-
solve those instead of trying to just like pick up the leaves and put it in a different pile, and
There
then
you go.
now you have to still clean up that pile, and then you put it on top of another one, and it's just like you're just moving the pile, the mess.
Right. So like how much of the quality resources are there for the heavier mental health issues, and are we doing a good job providing, those outlets for people to vent? Because if that's what it takes, and I know that there's a large majority of people who just need to get it off their chest. And if that's what it takes and that's what helps you get to the next day, hey, you're human. Keep pushing. Keep going.
Yeah.
Is that also enough? Is there enough of that for people?
I was gonna say no. I don't think there is, because I want to just another fundamental problem I think with mental health and therapy is I grew up and people were like, oh, I want to be a psychologist, and then the person has always been like a lot of people have been like, what the fuck are you gonna do? Just sit down and with a notebook all day? Like,
Just analyze
You
people
gotta
all
be
day?
a doctor, even though they're like doctors in their own right, or like a dentist, or like a scientist. or
The
something
money's
like
not
that.
there, right?
Yeah, it's always like, you're not gonna make any money you're not gonna do this. You're not gonna change anybody. Blah blah blah. And I think that, again, that's the growing up like problems that people who probably wanted to do that but were like got peer pressured out of not being a psychologist and doing something else. I think there's that stigma of like it's not worth to have that job, you know, because how many of them need their own like therapist or like
it's one of those questions that you never think of, like who's the mailman's mailman? Like who's a therapist? Because behind the notebook or behind the webcam, they're also a person, and they're just because they're somebody's therapist doesn't mean that they're immune to mental health.
Exactly. Because they have their own thing that they're dealing with, and then they have
Work.
8 other people's things that they're carrying with them all day. And
shoot,
like,
mentally speaking, even if you're fine, even if you didn't have any issues, this is like a personal thing, but that's one of the main reasons I can't be as resilient and available to my friend group or family anymore, because for a long time I used to be the verbal punching bag or the trauma vomit catcher just to hear people vent. At one point in my life, nothing was stressing me out. I was doing well in school. I was really happy in my relationship. Like, everything was all fine and dandy. But hearing people's problems, and too many of it at a large frequency, I started to get messed up. And I'm like, okay, I can't do this anymore.
I'm going through this, please.
And people are out here, actually, like you said, handling 8 different people's
entire life.
Like problems for their paycheck. Like, don't get me wrong. Everybody's been there. It's like, oh, I hate my job. I think that would pale in comparison compared to, like, being a therapist who has to hear people constantly throw their negativity at them. Yeah. All the time. You're
just carrying the negativity, all the weight of that on you throughout the day.
Honestly, like, therapists are slept on.
Like, you'll be, like, at a Whole Foods or something, and you're like...
Existential stare.
Yeah, you're just looking at the bottle, you're like...
Mango doesn't exist, neither does I.
Casey, why did you throw this mango bottle at your ex while he was leaving your house?
And
now you're like, I can imagine there's like these quote triggers of like things like from stories that people tell, and they're like, oh yeah, this Hydro Flask once hit somebody.
And have a completely separate moment.
Yeah, like I'm having my own moment because I'm remembering a story of a Hydro Flask, but this is not a Hydro Flask. But I used to be that person, like you were saying. I used to just listen to people, but now like I've rudely, I think, have done this thing where I'm like, I'm not available to receive what you're about to give me.
I'll say. So, do you say it like that?
I say it like that.
I don't think that's rude,
bro. I said it on the show too. It was like one of the 3rd, 4th episodes. I was like, man, sometimes I don't tell people my stuff because I don't know if they're gonna be ready to receive my stuff, and I would like the same consideration back. I was like, and I told the old co-host, I was like, I don't care if your your dog ran away and your grandma's missing. I don't care. Like, I'm not ready for that.
I mean, the way I see it, I prefer directness. So like, I think it's being kind, not rude, because you're letting me save the breath. I don't have to put myself through that. Like, if it's mental trauma or emotional trauma, everybody already knows this. Once you retell a story, you kind of relive those experiences and those emotions. So like, if I'm about to tell you some shit that got me upset, thanks for not letting me get upset.
You're welcome. Got your back always.